Hey YouTube, Eli with Alfresco Acres. Been thinking about this video for a year. We put this puller in October of last year, dug it in, didn't have any concrete poured all of last year. Actually ended up settling because the pipe we used is log store pipe, LOGSTOR, and it's roughly 15, maybe almost $16 a foot. So I measured 13 times and still over dug. So I had to put the boiler back on non-virgin ground and it settled. So we waited until this year and we just poured this concrete about 2 weeks ago. And today I'm working on getting it plumbed back in. Of course, I didn't quite measure perfectly and I had to extend the pipe, but I wanted to talk about the puller and go over why I'm glad we bought it. I looked at boilers for probably 2 or 3 years as we were looking for property that would work for us. And I was originally going to do the Portage in Maine. I thought that would work well for us. But then with the Polar, it's the gasification unit. So we got 23% off the boiler, the installation, anything that went with it. Unfortunately, that's capped now at, I think, $3,000 or something. But we got significant savings and actually made this comparable to a conventional unit with the savings that we got from all the other stuff. I probably would have used the same pipe, all the other same things, but going with the gasification, it put us back down into a conventional price range. The difference between, well, most people think the difference between a gasification and a conventional boiler is that this needs seasoned dry wood. And though it does, and you could change the settings on this to work better with wetter wood, I'm the type of person that wants to use dry wood. So it really wasn't a toss-up there, but this is going to be significantly more efficient than a conventional unit. For us, last year, heating 1900 year, so built around 1900, and it was 1,600 square foot house. My wife keeps it literally around 78 degrees. All of our domestic water, we used 4.5 cords of wood, roughly. Now it's putting it in totes and bags, so I wasn't stacking it and measuring it, but an IBC tote should be a third of a cord, and so that's how I did my math, which would be, just over 13 face cord. We used it from October until April. I'll show you the only issue we had around back, but just showing you what it looks like closed and open. And I just sprayed it off because it had some soot and stuff on it. You would load your wood through here. When you open this door, there's a push button down here, just kind of like a car door where your dome light would come on. When you open this door, this fan will actually start sucking smoke right here. So if you wait a few seconds, on a day-to-day basis, you're not going to open these two bottom doors. If you're just filling it with wood, you would just open this door. You'd want to crack it for just a second. This fan will reverse and take the smoke away from you coming right at your face, and you would fill the wood. I fill this stove twice a day because that's just the way I like to do it. I will fill it right about here, and that's probably 8 chunks of wood around this size. I'll fill it to here, and it'll be good for 12 hours. If it's a little bit colder, real cold, I might go a little bit higher, but there's going to be more left over. We filled it clear to the top as best as I could stuff it. 18th of October last year, I believe it was. We left Thursday morning, filled it Thursday morning, returned Sunday, and it needed wood Sunday morning. So it ran 3 days being completely full. We weren't here to use the domestic water, but we definitely were using the heat in the house. We didn't really change the thermostat. We just left it at 72, which I guess is a change, but not really. So you'd fill the wood in here. There is a light that turns on, switches on the side, I'll show you. I'm ecstatic about this boiler. I'm happy with how it works. I really don't have any complaints. I can show you the only thing that failed with this boiler. This is the back side of the boiler. One of the main reasons that I kind of settled on it was the ease of use. I didn't want to be freezing cold and parts broken that were that company's specific parts. For instance, a computer board on a central boiler. I didn't want to be stuck worrying about the Bluetooth and all the other things they have that are nice and fancy and great, but you're taking something you want to rely on and you want it to be simple. And it's nice that you can see it from a distance, but if that fails, you're going to be cold. I don't want to be cold. I want my family to be cold. So this boiler is simple. Um, you can get this fan many places. The part numbers are on these products. They're not made by Kohler. They're products you could replace it easily. It's just a simple design with simple heat stats and just simple, and that's what I liked. Um, the only cleaning you would be doing back here is you remove these wing nuts, and this shroud comes out, and then you can get. Don't think it's actually these 4 bolts. If I remember right, no. You remove a bit of foam, and there's bolts to remove this fan. You can take it out and clean it very easily. And I've done that twice. One was definitely, neither of them were really necessary to be done, but I did it halfway through the season just to make sure last year, and then did it at the end of the season so it was left clean. It is just simple to be done. It's a simple design, and that's really why I went with it. And there's, other than that, there's no cleaning back here. I know on some of the only other boilers I looked at, you had to work around and try to clean it from the back, and I envision a wall here of some sort, and although I'll have a door and stuff, I saw a lot of places where that wasn't going to be efficient or easy to deal with, trying to clean the back of a central boiler. This, I thought, for maintenance wise, parts availability, and all those things, this was the go-to unit. um, I looked and looked and looked. Like I said, I looked at other products. I looked at other designs. I watched Facebook groups about boilers, and Central Boiler is at the top for his marketing, but they just seem cheap. And I do not like the heat. The heat exchanger at the back. This is vertical holes with a coil that goes all the way down and through. And there's a bar on the side of the unit over here. You back and forth once a day, twice a day, whatever you want to do, and that's cleaning it. Versus the other competition, you're like wire brushing between it and all sorts of things like this, and I do not feel comfortable it would be easy to do or ever as good as it was new. Um, I wish I had a coil out to show you. I don't. The design of it is really nice on top. There's other videos that do show it on YouTube, but on top it's push pin to release them, and you can pull them out, and you can run this right through all the way down. The door on the side is open. You can vacuum everything out. It's easy peasy. About the only complaint I could have on that is going to be your height to get this in and down and those out. Um, they're called turbulators, and I think that's an easy thing to go around. For me, I'm going to want to be able to come in with the tractor, so I'm going to want height anyway. They are fairly bendable, so it's not, I think if you had even 10 foot, you'd probably be safe for ceiling space on that. This is our power coming in from the house. These are our supplies. This is what I had to extend and change today. There's 2 valves here that will lock out, your the tank on the boiler. This is best considered stirring the pot pump. This is your supply pump. We only have one hooked up. Eventually, we hope to heat the shop and then a greenhouse. And these are just ground faucet pumps. They work great. I don't honestly remember what setting they're on. They're either medium or low, and they do great. We have the pumps are on all the time, all winter. And then I have Alexa thermostat. I have two. Is the best way I could figure around it, where if I'm gone, I can still turn on propane and I can still control the boiler. The only thing we had fail, and again, I loved it, and I called the owner, and I've called the owner before. I probably talked to the owner 10 times at least. And you can call the corporate number for Polar and you can get a hold of him. Um, his name is Brian, and he's a down to earth guy, and he talked to me before the purchase, after the purchase. I called him at 5 o'clock the day we were installing this, and he was happy to talk to me about it and help me work through the problem I was having. And he's just there. Not necessarily because there's other great people inside the company, but it's really neat to be able to talk to the owner of a company like that. But I called him about this, and I ran it until today like this. But essentially, this is screwed in there upside down. And one day I was having issues with heat, and it's because the way this is screwed together, normal outlet for your house, this was able to come off, which this is the power side, so it just barely untouched. It just pushed that back down. It was fine. He was willing to send me another. I said, I don't need another. It's not worth it. You can go to the store and get one of these for, I don't even want to know anymore, but maybe back in the day, $2. um, so that's exactly what I envisioned with this boiler. Was going to be easy peasy. Don't got to go to the dealer, or I do because they're easy to deal with too. But like they're closed and Lowe's is open, or another heat supply center where you can get a thermostat or whatever it is to get through. This isn't their fault. This is simple. So I've been extremely happy with it. A little bit more of what goes on here is this is the manifold. These are your returns. These are the supplies down here. It's a little tighter than I'd want, but it worked a lot better than I thought too. I kind of thought this pump was going to be in the way of the door shutting, and it's not. Um, these are what open and change your primary and secondary air, and that's what's adjustable. There's settings right here where you can change it. Currently it's on 80 and 50, so you'd be able to change this for the dryness of your wood or maybe atmosphere. I'm not sure about that. I'd be talking out of my butt if I said any more, but you can change it depending on how the stove is going. And what it does is it opens a little bit of air right here and lets that into the stove. One fear I had of putting a boiler in, and it actually happened last year. We were in Grand Rapids, which is 2 hours, 3 hours away from us, at Monster Jam, and we lost power. And I've heard of people having boilers, and if they lose power, they're boiling over because there's nothing to control the stove. And what's nice about this is it really shuts down. While these are closed, it's not going to take off. It's not going to overheat your water and boil it off and cause other issues. So that was really nice to see it happen and see that we didn't have that issue. So these are the supply and return. I used irrigation pipe, just 1 inch, 100 psi, I think, because it was cheaper than conduit. I ran two out here. One's empty. One has Romex in it. I don't believe in direct bury wire. It just never seems to work well. I think that's all I have to say about the back of it. Up here is probably a good time to show you. This is the float valve. One thing I told the Polar themselves that I would recommend is maybe moving that over to this side, and I'll show you why. I did grab a tubulator. This is the one I bent. I see it best if I hold it straight. I didn't think it was possible, didn't know it was possible. I burnt some, I think it was ash that was wet. I think it was oak, and it would have been a year old last year, burned at some point in the winter, and it just wasn't dry enough. I don't know if where we had it. It's all in IBC totes, but I don't really cover them, and they could have been too shaded. And la la la. All of them came out, but one, and this was it. So I had another one sent, and we're all good there. But that was operator error. I'm completely happy to say, I guess. But on the side of this boiler, this is the on-off switch for the light and on-off switch for the heat. And this is your water temperature. Like I said, it's not fancy. It's not going to tell you at work what it's doing. But I thought the work around that would be pretty easy, where I would be able to just add a security camera, probably, on a post right about here, and I'd just shine it there. And that's the reason that I said that I don't love the placement of the water gauge. I think it should be moved over here if possible. I have a feeling the reason it's not is because it's further away from most of the electrical wiring. However, like I told Polar, I think it would be pretty neat to have it over here, because if you did that, like I think, or that I'm going to do, is then I could see that in the camera too. Huge deal? Probably not. I mean, I usually look at it every day. You're going to have to fill it every day, but just a silly thing I thought of because I had nothing else to think of as far as the boiler. And I wouldn't mind adding some extra electric thermometers to the pipes, the return and the supply, just because I'm annoying like that. I think it would be neat to see what they are and have a couple in the house and blah, 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 blah. And I would have that, here, and you could see it all from the camera. It's a little bit tricky. I did do it last year when we left with a real crap camera, and it's hard to get the angle right, but I think you can get around that pretty easily, and that would be an easy way to fix it all. So this is the sweep for all these turbulators, and I honestly can't remember how many are in there, if there's 9, but they work perfectly. And it's easy to take them out, and it's easy to stroke that every day. And down here is a clean out. You just unscrew that. It's just an L bolt in there, just like up here. This is a cover on there. And apparently I was too lazy to put the screws back in. But it's just like that. And I guess I'll unscrew this instead of trying to explain it. So it's simple, but it's effective. And then that would be the clean out in there. There's a little bit water from me washing the area in the front earlier. This is from the day that was stuck, where I had a propane burner in there. So another fella out of Canada that had one of these boilers for a little bit, he tried doing green wood. Well, they had a really horrible winter, but he ended up having to use green wood, and he had to do what I did, so I was able to watch his video too and learn how to fix that. And I put propane underneath it just to kind of heat it up and break that creosote free. This had locked enough where it just didn't move the turbulators. I don't know if I skipped a day or exactly what happened, but nonetheless, it got stuck, and it was a fairly simple thing to fix, and a learning that it really does need dry wood, or you need to change your air. I think we're ready to start it, and I'm excited because it's not really cold enough to need it, but we're expecting our 3rd child, and we're crazy people that do home birth, and I won't have it, but Amanda will have unlimited hot water for the birth pool, which will be extremely neat. We'll have unlimited hot water for our home birth. So I'm going to take her around front and fire this bad boy up. Before I actually fire it up, I should show you the inside, which is why I didn't get it going earlier. A little more creosote in there than I'd like to be proud to say there's in there. We'll start at the bottom. So that's where the fire actually happens. It burns down versus up. And there is a sight glass for those that fancy watching it. This is really convenient for moving, some of the ash without removing all the wood. And then that's obviously where you'd put all your wood in. There's 3 nozzles on either side. These panels are all removable. Um, Fairly easy. They get a little bit bent, but they can be hammered back. This is pretty thick metal that's removable, and you can clean it out fairly easy. But really, if you're burning correctly, you don't need to. And I don't even really remove the ash out of here, but once a week. And we didn't even probably create. There's no way we filled a 55-gallon drum full of ash burning all those months. So it's just fly ash, and there's barely anything to it. These doors are nice because they're adjustable on either side to make sure it's tight, and it's just simple. I guess. Oh, I did have one other complaint, is this rod. And you're being lazy and trying to throw too much in at once and you drop one, it'll always hit that. Almost always. It bent it once, and for the most part it's fine, but I wish it was up top. I'm sure there's a reason it's not, but that's my only other gripe, I think. A couple pieces of wood at the bottom. Bunch of kindling. Well, not really. Actually, just cardboard. Paper towel. Some old livestock trailer flooring. I don't know if you can see that smoke go right in there or not. Just turn the fan on. I throw a little bit more wood in there. The water is at 60 degrees right now. Usually stays right about 180. Oh, it'll take a bit to get it up there. But you really don't get a lot of smoke. You don't get any smoke. It's water vapor. So it's not like this thing is just billowing out. It'll it'll typically just be water vapor. Um, One other thing I like about the doors that I forgot to mention while we were around back is it's simple to remove them, but these just push right on, and you can remove them to get in there and work on it or put them back on easily. Um, the stove comes with a few different tools. Come with a shovel, a pick, and this will go down the air channels on the side. Also works well to pull ash out of that um, cylindrical firebox. But I think last time it took us 3 hours to get up to temperature. Water, I don't remember how the water was much colder or not. I guess 60 degrees is close to groundwater anyway. But I appreciate everything about this wood stove. I'm very happy we bought it. I don't think the competition can really touch it. I guess for me, finding information about this boiler was a little bit harder. It's touching back to earlier when I said that the other companies are definitely more out there. You can see more of them, Central or Crown or Heat Smart. There's several of them. Obviously, they're a little bit easier to find. I'm pretty certain that's because, well, obviously marketing, but I use Facebook or YouTube quite often to try to get more of an honest opinion from people. And it seems like many of the groups on Facebook are ran by dealers and paid for by companies such as Crown and whatnot, because you cannot say certain things. You'll get deleted, blocked immediately, just honest opinions or whatever. And it's not a clear place. It's to just ask a question and get honest answers. It's bought and paid for, in my opinion. So that's one reason I really wanted to do this video, is to get more information out there about a project I think is worth it. I can't honestly remember the price differences. I think they're all pretty comparable. Um, but I think you get what you pay for too, and you have a good company in your back pocket. They're going to work with you. I don't think that is happening with other people and their products from other companies, just by some of the posts I see. Um, but they're quickly kind of covered up and not talked about. So, in my opinion, this boiler is a great product. I'd be happy to talk more about it. It's a G3. They have a G2. G2 probably would have been more than enough for us, but I like to pay a little bit more at the beginning to know that we have more than enough than to have to do it again. So, in conclusion, happy with the Polar. Very few issues, and wouldn't even really call them problems, but an issue. I hope this video helped you, and hope we get a like, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks a lot.